Maintaining a large Asiatic lily bed such as this is a very satisfying hobby, but it does require a little maintenance in fall. This video will show you everything you need to know to keep it looking at its best. If you have a large bulb bed, in my case it's a bed of Asiatic lilies, digging the bulbs up every fall and replanting them is one of the hardest and most tedious jobs you'll do. A lot of people like to just leave their bulbs naturalized, that is, just leave them in the ground year after year. And while that can work, what you'll find over time is that the flowers will become smaller and fewer in number. Here's the reason why. As a rule, for every bulb you plant, the following fall you can expect to get 2, possibly 3 replacement bulbs that are full-sized and will produce good-sized flowers the following year. These aren't the problem. The problem in the long run are the small bulblets, and it's not uncommon to have a single bulb planted in spring, in addition to the big ones, to produce up to 20 little bulblets. And here's what happens. They're all confined to a small area. So after these guys flower next year, they're going to be competing with all of these little bulblets for the nutrients in this one small spot. And because there's so many of these guys are not going to be able to grow properly and produce a full set of large-sized bulbs the following year. And this continues year after year, so that every year the main bulbs will get smaller because they do not have the ability to collect enough nutrients from this area, because the little guys are taking it all. And over time, your bulb bed will become overcrowded and filled with small plants that do not produce good flowers. For this reason, although digging up the bed every year is a lot of work, in the long run, you'll have a much more beautiful bed with larger flowers and healthier plants. If, like me, you have a bed of Asiatic lilies, as you dig them up, most of what you dig up will look like this. A nice, clean, single tuber or bulb, about 1.5 inches to 2 inches across. The next most common bulb will be a split bulb. This is actually 2 bulbs that have come off of the original. What you want to do with these is just divide it along the naturally occurring part. This will, each of these will produce a great flower the following year. Occasionally, you'll come across 2 complete bulbs that are connected together. These are usually just held together by the tangle of roots at their base. Just like with the split bulb, just gently pull these apart. And you'll have 2 plants for next year. Once in a great while, you'll come across something magnificent like this. From a single bulb planted the previous year, I got 3 large, completely formed bulbs in a tight pattern. If you're a person who likes bulbs, this is like finding a treasure box full of gold. Again, just divide these apart, and you'll have 3 great plants next year. This is a really good bulb here. My preferred method of digging my bulbs is to start by digging a trench across the bulb bed, making sure that I go deeper than the expected depth of the bulbs so I don't accidentally pierce any. Move all of the soil over, sifting through it to remove all the bulbs, any roots or any beetle grubs that may be down there so that they don't attack the bulbs next year. And once this is the hard part, getting this started. Once you've got a trench built, then you proceed down one length of the bulb bed, much like double digging. You loosen the soil up, turn it over into the trench, break it up, and remove any bulbs. And work your way all the way down the length of the trench. And here's this year's harvest. There's probably 2,000 bulbs in this container, of which maybe 400 will be good sized like this, which is ideal for planting next year. The next thing to do is to sort them out so that only the largest and healthiest gets planted in the garden. Out of the several thousand I dug out of the ground, I came away with 450 bulbs that should be a flowering size, ranging from 1.25 inches in diameter all the way over to 2.5 inches in diameter. Besides getting rid of the bulbs that are too small to flower the following year, sorting allows you to do something else. It allows you to plant the largest bulbs towards the rear of the bed because they'll produce taller plants, and this way you'll avoid them overshadowing the smaller plants from the smaller bulbs. This is a real good crop this year. While lilies are true bulbs, just like tulips, unlike tulips, they're not dense, and so they will dry out over time. I prefer keeping mine, even if they're just out of the ground for a few days, in an airtight compartment to prevent them from drying out. Definitely do not try storing them for half a year until spring comes around to plant, because they can dry out and you can have high losses. I've amended the bed with 35 cubic feet of topsoil, which is about right for the 65-foot long by 30-foot bed that I'm working with. I've also added 18 pounds of bone meal and about 10 pounds of blood meal. Combined, this should create a very fertile bed for next year's crop of bulbs. I like spacing the bulbs out before planting, so I'm sure that I have them equally spaced and far enough apart so they fill the entire bed. I only use the center half of the bed for the lilies. The rear half I use for gladiolas to soften the back wall, because the lilies are only about 18 inches high. In the front, I'll plant a bedding plant such as vinca or petunias to hide the stems of the lilies after they've quit flowering and start to die off. It makes the bed look a little bit better for the long run. And that's pretty much it. If you want some information about what I call my dribble irrigation system, the link at the bottom of this segment will show you where to find information about it. And that's it. Now comes the fun part, planting. And that's it. One down, 449 to go. It's now 4 hours later and the bed is completely planted. It may not look like much now, but in 6 months, around the end of May, this is going to be exploding with color. In addition to the 450 prime lily bulbs I planted and the 70 gladiolas I planted against the wood wall, I also planted about 200 small marble-sized lilies. Usually I discard these, but I wanted to see how well they'd grow and if they'd produce any flowers. So this is another test we'll be finding out next May. I hope you'll check back then to see how well the bed turns out. Thank you for watching.